Good morning. Is anyone there? I can see you, Michael. Hello. Oh, you must be on mute.
Good morning.
There you are. Morning. Morning, Heather. Are you up in the mountains or you just have a nice backdrop?
I just played with the backgrounds.
I thought you might have been on holidays and still dialing in.
I was trying to be on holidays, Robin, but this was the best I could come up with.
Fair enough. Oh, well, nice to see everyone here. Hello, Helen. I've not met you. Well, I think you're on mute. Can you unmute yourself? There's a toolbar at the bottom of the screen.
Hello.
There you go. That's better. Hello.
Hello.
Okay, well, thank you. I might just turn my volume up because it's a bit soft. Can everyone hear me okay?
No problems.
Okay, great. All right. Look, thank you everyone for tuning in today. These live sessions are something that we want to do on a regular basis and even on the weekends to make sure that we're getting everyone across the 24/7 operation because, as you all know, it's not just a 9-to-5 job. It's something we have staff on site 24 hours a day, 7 days a week across the state. And so in order to make sure that we're opening up the communication with everyone, we'll be doing these sessions live on the weekend as well. So I really appreciate everyone's participation. I know this is new and something that probably Southern Cross Care hasn't done before, but certainly something that I want to do. So I think I'm in my 6th month now here within Southern Cross Care. And one of the things that I wanted to make sure of is that our communication was good. We have a workforce of 1,000 employees. So it's really difficult to get around to all the sites and meet everyone and visit with everyone regularly. I know Jo and her team and sales guys and training, etc. Everyone makes every effort to do that. But I think it's 4.5 hours drive from Newtown to Yarrandoo each way. So it's not always possible to get to everyone on a regular basis. What we wanted to do though is, or definitely what I wanted to do is share some insights I have into my observations in my first 5 months and communicate an understanding of what changes have occurred and why the changes have occurred and why they're necessary in order for Southern Cross Care to be sustainable into the future and to continue to provide really good quality care to our residents and clients and independent living unit residents as well. We're copping quite a hiding as a sector, and I'm sure you've all seen in the media a lot around aged care providers, deaths in aged care of our residents off the back of COVID. And as you all know, I too am disappointed in the media response in relation to outbreaks within residential aged care. I mean, the virus comes in on a vehicle, on someone, whether it be a visitor or a resident themselves, and once it's in there, it spreads very quickly. No differently to anywhere else in the country, no different to hospital or shopping centres or restaurants. So why we're being singled out is beyond me, and I really do feel for you guys. I don't want you to think that there's anything that you're doing that's not right or to minimise the contribution you make to our community every single day in looking after and caring for our elderly folk. And it's something that I'm extremely passionate about and why I work in aged care. So I just want you to know genuinely from me that I am aware of how difficult that must be for you guys and how difficult it must be for our residents. So just know that I'm thinking of you. We continue to be in the headlines most days in the newspaper most times in a negative way, and I'll often be approached to speak on radio or on the news, and sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. And when I don't, it's because I'm not going to be reactive and be tit for tat sharing insults with people around aged care. What I will do is come out and talk about the true realities of aged care, the costs of aged care, the work that's required, the commitment, the dedication, and all the things we do every single day to ensure quality of care and quality of life of our residents and clients. So I'll definitely do that. We've recently published and circulated analysis that I asked Carol Waller to do for us, and that is really a snapshot of the cost of care that we provide versus the funding that we receive from the Commonwealth every day to complete that task. And there is a shortfall of over $10 per bed per day. Now, we do things like, as an organisation, provide 24-hour on-site clinical care, and you know, that's not funded and it's not mandated. We don't have to do that. We do that as an organisation because we want to. We understand what registered nurses bring to the care facilities in terms of their specialist skills and expertise, and how that improves the outcomes for our residents who can often be quite frail and unwell. And so in our view, it's a necessary expertise to have on site 24 hours a day, making sure that the clinical supervision is where it needs to be in looking after our residents. So, you know, any questions you might have. So those figures that I alluded to, they're up on the intranet, they're on the Teams channel. We're happy to send them out any way you'd like them. And that's going to be my focus going forward, is to really be, to open up the conversation with you guys, and let's have it. Let's talk to each other and let's have these conversations around what does it actually cost? How many staff do we actually have in our buildings versus how many residents? What are the care ratios? Should we have mandated ratios, or shouldn't we? And if we did have them, what would they be, and how would we measure what that should look like? So I'll open up the conversation to you guys now to ask me questions, and I'm happy to be 100% open and transparent with you. So feel free to ask me questions. Who's going to go first? Come on, Heather. Hit me with a question.
Oh, hi.
Oh, hello. Hello.
I'm Deb. I'm a physio assistant, and
Yep.
I think the thing for me is I feel really committed to aged care, completely, passionately. The thing I would like to see active is more timely care. I think the thing that I get really quite connected to is the amount of time people have to wait for things. I accept that there's a waiting period. I do accept that because that's just global. But I would like to see a little bit more commitment to perhaps more ratio around people not having to wait when they need something or need to go somewhere. I see it as, you know, an issue from a falls perspective. I see it as an issue from an anxiety perspective. So yeah, that's my thoughts around the care delivery, just the timing. You know, with the fact around people being able to make choices, which is just exactly how it should be. Your choices are certainly dampened down when you're waiting to actually be able to see a carer, see a nurse, see whomever. And I think there's, you know, an acceptable time and then there's an unacceptable time. So yeah, that's kind of, I'd like to hear your thoughts around that.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for that. What I can say to you, just to give a bit of background into where I've come from, I actually started in aged care as a community carer and providing care into the homes for people, and then moved into residential aged care. So I've worked as a carer for many years, and then moved into other areas within the sector, and I understand completely what you're saying. our ratios are quite high as an industry standard. That doesn't answer your question, but what I can say is it is not a normal thing to have 200 or 150 people or whatever your numbers are within your facilities in one building, all living together, all with high care needs, essentially, or 85% of them. So all with continence issues, all with mobility issues, all with life-limiting illnesses or chronic disease. So, you know, in order for us to be as responsive as we would like to be, we would have to have one carer for every single resident in the building, which is unfortunately not going to happen. So as an average across the 9 facilities we do have is 7.7 residents for every carer. That is as long as everyone comes to work and provides care. So that 7.7 carers is not counting activities, not counting nurses, not counting allied health. So what we say in terms of responses is, and I guess when you look at your operations, and you guys would know better than anyone when the peak times of care are, and they would be in the mornings when people are getting up, needing to go to the bathroom, personal hygiene, medication rounds, and then breakfast. My understanding is everyone within our facilities pretty much has breakfast in their room. And for me, that would probably take more time, more carers than it would to bring residents out to the dining room. But I'd be happy to hear your thoughts around that. I think what we need to look at is how we're providing care. So I'd be interested in you guys telling me what you see are the changes that would benefit more efficiency in terms of being able to be with the residents when they need you, as they need you. We look at things like data in terms of nurse call response time. So we can see how many people are calling, how often they're calling, and the peaks and troughs in those calls. So we can see times of the day where it's really, really busy, and then other times where it peters off. But I guess you guys are at the coalface. You're the ones that are providing the care and services. So you need to say to us or advise us on how you see that working. I mean, we can do that, and we have done that. But if it's not working, what needs to change from your perspective? What do we need to be looking at in order to make this better? Because we all are here for the same reason, and that is to make sure that the residents get what they need when they need it, to a high standard. So I'd be interested in, and I don't know how we achieve that, but this is a sector-wide issue. This is the same conversation that has been had for many, many, many years of how many staff should we have versus how many staff do we have, and when do we provide care and how do we provide care? And it comes down to things like who showers, how often we shower the residents, whether they're showered secondarily, daily, how many people shower in the afternoons versus in the mornings. And yes, it goes to choice and decision making, but by the same token, you know, we can only, so in terms of when people shower, whether it's at 8 o'clock in the morning or 9 o'clock, there's got to be an expectation that we can't be there right on 8 o'clock on the dot every single day, because that would be unachievable, because things happen. There's other things come into the mix, like someone might have a fall, someone might be palliative and need more attention, someone might be have BPSD and be experiencing that, and then we're having to deal with that, or not having to deal with it, but work with that person to see what's happening for them. So what are your thoughts around some sort of, you know, focus group or something where we could really sit down and nut out the pros and cons of the way we currently operate versus what it should look like, and how we close the gap between where we are and where we need to be, or where you'd like to be?
If I may say, if I may just interject and say, I think there's been some conversation around not actually talking with a resident about the fact that there might be a staffing shortage on the day. So, so I think that what I would like is a more open conversation with a resident around the time that they may have to wait because we may not have the right amount of staff on the day. And then at least it gives somebody an honest representation of what is actually going on. Now, I'm not suggesting for a minute that people are lying to them. That's not what I'm suggesting. All I'm saying is I know that there has been some conversation around not making people aware that we have been short-staffed. So I think it's much nicer I would prefer somebody to say to me, look, I'm really sorry, I'm, getting to you as soon as I can, but I am, I have got a few tasks. Would you mind waiting? Is it okay with you? As opposed to, I'll be back soon, but then, just that openness around that. And I'm certainly not suggesting either that people are just going around and, fobbing people off, but I just think it would be nicer just to be really honest about what's going on the day.
Yeah, and look, I 100% agree, I guess, and I'd agree with that point of we shouldn't be burdening the residents with our staffing issues, if that's what we want to call it. What I don't want to see is that the residents feel that they shouldn't be asking for care, that they're concerned that they might not get care because there's a staff shortage. And so I think there's ways of having that conversation that supports the resident to understand that they might need to change the time they have the shower, but that's okay, we'll still be there. And we might need to change the care around a little bit off the back of someone's called in sick. So there's two conversations here. Is it a staff shortage or is it absenteeism because of sick leave? And then what have we done to try and backfill that shift? So I know we spend a lot of time ringing people and seeing if we can get someone to cover the shift, if it's unplanned leave. That's not always successful. 30% of our workforce is casual for that reason, to provide that contingency so that we can ring people up and say, can you come to work? So I think what the conversation needs to be around absenteeism and the percentage of that, what that looks like and what we can do about that. Conversation with the residents around that. And I'm 100% for saying to the residents, yep, look, we have a 12% absenteeism rate. We need to work on that. We could do that better. But then also looking at how we provide care and operationally, whether the way we're doing it now is the most efficient and effective for the residents and for the staff. And so that's why I say to you, I think it'd be really important, really great for us to come together and have those conversations and work out, so what is the root cause of the issue? Why is it here in the first place? And then what can we do together collaboratively? Because this is a partnership. I can sit here and read the data and write policy and say all the things I say, and then you can have a different conversation with your colleagues at the site. But unless we come together and have that conversation together, it's not going to gel. And so what we need to do is be open to coming together, working together to achieve that common goal of looking after our residents in the best possible way we can. Never going to be perfect. Going back to my initial statement, it is not a normal life when you bring 200 or 100 people together into a building who all have complex care needs, and they're all wanting them met all at the same time. And so it creates, a bit of a struggle. And so we need to understand, well, what's the best way of addressing that, and even engaging the residents in that, partnering with the residents and getting their thoughts around that. Because, we might assume we know how they're thinking and feeling, but do we really as a collective? We might hear certain comments from certain residents from time to time or even daily, but are they representing the whole 100 people or are they representing themselves? And so I think coming together and having some open conversations is the best way to understand what's happening for everyone and how we can then work together to provide the best possible outcome. Mightn't be perfect, but what is the best possible outcome we can achieve so that it works for everyone?
Thank you.
Is that something that you'd be interested in doing?
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll set that up. So I'd be really keen to do that.
Terrific. Thank you.
Okay. Look, we've gone over our 10 minutes, and look, I'd sit here and talk to you all day, but I'm sure if I do that, the FMs are going to go crook on me, or someone will, because I'm keeping everyone away from where they need to be. But look, I'd be really keen to keep this conversation going. I'll make contact with Fairway Rise and we'll set up a focus group to start looking at this send out expression of interest to everyone else, north and south, and let's start the conversation and let's start understanding each other's perspectives. And I think, you know, that would be a great way forward. So thanks everyone for coming. I'm sorry everyone didn't get a chance to talk. I'll try not to talk so much next time. If you continue to send your questions in, I'll continue to answer them. So feel free to do that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.